This probably sounds strange coming from a heart doctor. In about 10 minutes, I could tell you everything that you need to know to protect your heart for life: the food, the sleep, the movement, the stress, all of it. And almost none of it would matter because in 3 weeks, you'd be doing none of it. And that's got nothing to do with how much you care or how disciplined you are. I've been a cardiologist for over 20 years, and the people in front of me are some of the most driven people that I will or you will ever meet. Surgeons, chief executives, mothers running a whole house on no sleep. They know what to do, they still don't do it. So today, let's talk about what sits underneath all of it. Why knowing what's good for your heart so rarely turns it into doing it, and the surprisingly small fix that finally makes it stick. When I trained as a doctor, the job was simple. You come in, I find the problem, I give you a prescription, a leaflet, and off you go. And for years, I watched smart people take that advice, nod along, walk out the door, and never act on a word of it. It used to frustrate me, and then it started to fascinate me because the problem was never that they did not know. So I went and I studied it properly. How people actually change the way they live. It changed how I practice. By the end of this, you'll know why your best intentions keep falling off, and you'll have a way to start something that sticks. Here's how little knowing really matters. Think about the 1st of January. Every year, the same thing. People decide, usually about a week beforehand, that this is the year. They are giving up everything they think is bad for them: the drink, the sugar, the cigarettes, the late nights, the lazy mornings, all of it gone. And what happens? By around the 21st of January, the vast majority are back doing every single one of those things within 3 weeks. Or take the person who's been trying to lose weight and diets for years. You go on a diet, 6 weeks later, you're down a few pounds and you think this is amazing. I finally cracked it, and 6 weeks later, the weight's back on again. I imagine we've all watched it happen, maybe in our own mirror. And none of those people were short on information. They knew exactly what to do. We all know smoking causes cancer, and plenty of people who know that still smoke 20 cigarettes a day. If knowing was enough, every doctor on the planet would be the healthiest person in the room. And I can tell you, having spent my whole life in hospitals, very often we're not. So if knowing isn't the problem, what is it? For most people, the answer they reach for is willpower. They tell themselves, I just need to want it more, try harder, show a bit more discipline, and then they fail. They decide the problem must be them, that they're simply the kind of person who cannot follow through with things. I want to take that off your shoulders right now. The blame is in the wrong place. Your resolutions collapsed because of the way you went about them. You leaned on a big burst of motivation, and motivation by its very nature runs out. You can't hold on to that level for a year. Nobody can, no matter how strong you think you are. You tried to change 10 things at once, all of them hard, all of them on the same Monday, and you set the bar so high that the first time life got in the way, the whole thing toppled over. That's just a plan that was never going to survive a normal, busy week. But there's good news hiding in that. If the method was the problem all along, then a better method changes everything. Changing this begins somewhere where you might expect. It begins inside your head before it ever reaches your plate or your gym bag. I have spent years studying the people who succeed at genuinely hard things, not only in health, in life, and one pattern comes up over and over. They decide who they are first, and the actions follow on behind. There's a lovely example of this: Roger Bannister, the first man who ever ran a mile in under 4 minutes. At the time, every expert said it couldn't be done, that a man's heart would more or less burst in his chest trying. And there, this wonderful detail on how he went about it. He pictured it first. He saw himself doing it in his mind again and again. He checked in with himself at every 100 yards. He imagined the ticker tape breaking across his chest at the finish line long before he'd ever done it. He took on the identity of a man who already ran that mile, and then his body went and caught up with the picture. Now, you're not chasing a world record, but the principle underneath it is the exact same one. Stop thinking of yourself as someone who's trying to be healthy and start deciding that you are simply a healthy person, a person walking from home to work. A healthy person drinks the glass of water. It sounds almost too simple to matter, but it's one of the most powerful shifts I've ever watched change a patient's life. Deciding who you are is not enough on its own. For practicality's sake, you have got to make doing it genuinely easy. I learned a method years ago from a behavior designer in Stanford called Fogg, and I've used it with patients ever since. You pick one pillar of your health, just one. Not your diet and your sleep and your exercise all in the same week, just one. Then you choose one behavior inside of that pillar and you make it so small, it's almost laughable. If it's your eating, I don't want you overhauling the entire kitchen. I want you to put 1 or 2 blueberries on your breakfast tomorrow morning. That's the whole task. You anchor it in something that you already do without thinking. You sit down to your dinner every evening anyway, so the new habit becomes when I sit down to dinner, there's a glass of water on the table and I drink it. You're not adding another chore to your day. You are clipping one tiny you thing onto a thing that's already there. And then comes the part almost everybody leaves out. Yes, it's the part that really makes it stick. You celebrate it. The moment you drink the water, you give yourself a little something, a smile, a thumbs up to yourself, even just saying good out loud, the way you would to someone you are proud of. It feels daft the first time, I promise you, but the little hit of feeling good is exactly what tells your brain to come back and do it again tomorrow. I stand in my own kitchen and do this, and I know it works because I've watched it happen again and again. I ran a program for a group of staff in our hospital where I work. These were all very busy people, stressed, stretched thin, the usual. We started small. A few of them decided to meet at the lift at midday and go for a half-hour walk every day. Then we put a Greek salad in the coffee shop for a month just to make better choice the easy one to reach for. Small things. And the change in that group in their health and honestly in how they felt about their own work is something I still think about. I had one man, a patient of mine, who I couldn't get to change his eating no matter what I said to him. And then on one of these programs, he did a vision board, which he was convinced was complete nonsense. And something just clicked. He went on to lose 3 stone. He started going to the gym. He was cooking for himself at home. All of it grew out of 2 blueberries and a decision about who he wanted to be. I give you an example of my own. For the last 4 years, every single morning, before I do anything else, I take a quiet moment to think of 2 things that I'm grateful for, and I do a little bit of slow breathing. That's it. It's tiny, it's anchored to the act of waking up, and it's done more for me than almost anything I could ever write on a prescription. So here's what I'd love you to do. And notice I am not going to hand you a list of 10 things. Pick one pillar, the one that is in your gut. You already know it is the worst for you right now. Your sleep, your food, your movement, whichever that is. Then pick one behavior so small it feels pointless. Anchor it to something you already do first thing tomorrow, and then do it. Celebrate it, even if you feel slightly ridiculous standing there. That's the instruction. One pillar, one tiny thing, anchored and celebrated. Do that, let it stay easy, and let it be the only thing for a good while. Because you were never short on information, you've known what to do for years. And now you know it wasn't about willpower or discipline. You don't need to become a different person overnight. You need to do one small thing in an easy way to repeat until one day you look up and realize it's simply who you are now. The heart responds to that faster than most people expect. If this is the kind of thing that you want more of, subscribe and come back each week. So pick one pillar and then go and watch this next. I made a whole video on what's actually worth your time when it comes to eating for your heart. The fasting, the protein, the supplements, even Ozempic, and what the evidence really says. It's on the screen now.